In 1962, the relationship between the United States and the Soviet Union became extremely tense. Rumors about the possibility of the Soviet Union dropping a nuclear bomb soon caused panic among the American people. The construction of backyard shelters became a widespread phenomenon. Dr. Calvin, an intelligent and cautious man, worked hard to perfect his shelter, ensuring it was stocked to survive for years. One day, Calvin and his wife, Helen, who was pregnant at the time, hosted a party at their home. Everything was going well until they saw a televised announcement from President Kennedy. He announced a secret mission to address the Soviet Union. Although no details were provided, Calvin panicked, believing that war was imminent. He immediately sent the guests away and pulled Helen into the shelter. Just seconds later, a plane experiencing technical issues flew over the city and crashed directly into Calvin's house, completely destroying it. In the shelter, Calvin heard a loud noise and felt a shaking. He quickly sealed the shelter door, explaining to Helen that it could not be opened manually and would automatically unlock after 35 years. This was the necessary time for radioactive particles in the air to return to safe levels. Meanwhile, authorities arrived at the scene to investigate the wreckage from the crash. Finding no signs of life, they assumed that Calvin and Helen had perished in the plane crash. As time passed, Calvin became comfortable with life in the shelter, but Helen grew increasingly frustrated with it. Suddenly, Helen went into labor and gave birth with Calvin's assistance. The baby boy was named Adam, growing up healthy and intelligent. Calvin taught Adam everything he knew, hoping that one day Adam would rebuild the country and restore its former glory. In addition to basic subjects, Calvin also taught Adam boxing, French, Latin, and how to manage the stock market. Helen taught Adam how to do household chores and even how to dance. Calvin also gave Adam his precious collection of baseball cards and tried to explain sports. However, Adam struggled to imagine the concept of so many people participating together. Both Calvin and Helen always taught Adam to behave politely and never used foul language in front of him. As a result, Adam grew up naive and extremely introverted. The family quickly settled into a comfortable routine in the shelter. They often went shopping at a mini store set up within the shelter. They fished in the water tank, tended to plants, and even built a private room for Adam. Additionally, they had a relaxation area for reading, playing games, and spending quality time together. Meanwhile, on the surface, the land where their house once stood was sold. Over the years, the site became home to various businesses, first a diner, then a pizza parlor, and finally a nightclub. In 1995, Adam turned 33. His parents handcrafted birthday gifts for him. As Adam blew out the candles, he wished to one day find the perfect life partner. Helen reminded him that the shelter door would open in just 2 more years. Calvin expressed regret, saying he would miss the shelter when they had to leave, causing Helen to lose her temper and retreat to another room to scream in frustration. By 1997, after 35 years, the shelter door finally unlocked. The family was thrilled at the thought of going outside, but Calvin suggested checking for safety first. Their old house has now become a shelter for a group of drunken homeless people. One of them, Melker, panicked at the sight of a glowing figure emerging from underground. Calvin put on a radiation suit and took the elevator to the surface, while Melker lay unconscious on the spot. Calvin then left the building and was immediately shocked by how much the outside world had changed. Graffiti covered everything, people carried guns like toys, and adult stores displayed products that disgusted him. He also encountered bizarre-looking individuals and couldn't understand them when they spoke. Terrified, Calvin hurried back to the shelter. He informed his family that while the air was safe to breathe, the surrounding area was still a post-apocalyptic wasteland full of crazy mutants. He concluded that the family should remain in the shelter, which finally caused Helen to snap. She yelled at Calvin, expressing her frustration at being trapped underground and emphasizing the importance of Adam experiencing the natural world. Calvin remained steadfast in his decision, and the argument led him to have a heart attack. With Calvin's condition worsening and food supplies running low, Helen decided to send Adam outside to purchase enough provisions to last them for several more years. She handed Adam a shopping list and some cash, instructing him to stay at the Holiday Inn and to look for a girl who wasn't mutated. Before Adam left, Calvin warned him not to enter adult video stores, as they contained dangerous levels of radiation. After getting ready, Adam finally stepped outside. He discovered that Melker had built a shrine around the elevator, where he and others worshipped Calvin's family as saints. Stepping into the real world, Adam was filled with excitement at seeing the sky, buildings, trees, and other people for the first time in his life. Though people stared at him as if he were strange, Adam enthusiastically marveled at everything and greeted everyone who passed by. Adam accidentally used an offensive word when greeting a woman because he was overly excited to see a black woman for the first time. When passing an adult video store, he pinched his nose and warned others to follow suit. Later, when boarding a bus, he panicked as he felt the vehicle start to move. As Adam attempted to chat with the other passengers, he used outdated language that no one understood, making people think he was even stranger. Adam finally arrived at the grocery store and began shopping for the items on his list. The butcher at the store suggested that if Adam placed a large order, they could deliver it to his home. It was then that Adam realized he didn't know how to return to the shelter. Panicked, Adam ran out of the store and spent the entire day riding various bus routes in an attempt to find the shelter, but to no avail. As his money dwindled, Adam decided to enter a toy and collectibles store to sell his father's precious baseball cards. The store owner, recognizing the cards as valuable antiques, offered to buy the entire set for just $500, without revealing their true worth. Before Adam could agree, the owner's assistant Eve intervened and warned Adam that he was being scammed, as each card in the collection was worth between $4,000 and $6,000. The boss became angry and insulted Eve. She immediately resigned, which deeply impressed Adam and made him start. After leaving the store, Adam asked Eve to take him to the Holiday Inn. At first, Eve refused and tried to stay away from Adam, but she quickly changed her mind when he promised to pay her with 2 baseball cards. During the ride, Adam selected only old songs on the radio, which made Eve think he was quite odd. When Eve dropped Adam off at the hotel, she left immediately without saying a word. Adam checked into the hotel and was overwhelmed as he looked out from the 18th floor, admiring the view of the modern city. He woke up very early and enjoyed watching color television. Not long after, Eve returned to the hotel to give back Adam's baseball cards, feeling guilty about receiving so much value for such a simple task. As Eve was about to leave, Adam stopped her and made a proposal. He offered to pay her to become his assistant and help him gather all the items needed for the shelter. Eve agreed, and the two began shopping for enough supplies to last 2 years. During the process, they rented several trucks to transport the goods. Adam also surprised Eve by revealing that once the shopping was done, he intended to find a wife. Eve took Adam to her home, where he met her roommate, Troy. Troy quickly noticed Adam's amazement at modern technology and began asking him many questions. To avoid suspicion, Adam lied, saying he was from Alaska and in town on a business trip. Meanwhile, back in the shelter, Helen couldn't resist her curiosity and decided to use the elevator to go above ground. However, as soon as she stepped outside, she encountered Melker and his bizarre group of friends, which terrified her and sent her rushing back to the shelter. The next day, Troy noticed that Adam needed a fashion makeover. He helped Adam get a completely new wardrobe, making him look even more handsome. In the days that followed, Eve and Troy introduced Adam to many new experiences, dancing to modern music, skateboarding, and marveling at the ocean. Adam was so excited that he jumped straight into the water without hesitation. He also attended a live baseball game and finally understood why his father loved the sport so much. One afternoon, it started to rain, and Adam stood in the rain with a look of awe and delight. When Eve came to check on him, Adam embraced her, sharing his joy and saying that his father would consider this a miracle. That evening, Eve and Troy took Adam to a classic dance club, hoping to help him find his future wife. They advised Adam to just be himself. The women at the club were quickly drawn to Adam's sweet personality, refined style, and handsome appearance. An rival of Eve's quickly caught Adam's attention, and they began talking closely. This made Eve feel jealous, so she pulled Adam aside and told him he needed a sweet, kind woman, not someone loose. Adam then invited another girl to dance, and they dominated the dance floor, impressing everyone with Adam's excellent dancing skills. Eve tried to push aside her feelings of jealousy and struck up a conversation with her ex-boyfriend. He mocked Adam and provoked him into a fight. However, thanks to the boxing lessons from his father, Adam quickly made Eve's ex-boyfriend run away in fear. Frustrated by all the chaos, Eve left the club and went home alone. When Troy arrived, he informed Eve that Adam had left the club with her rival, making Eve realize that she loved Adam. She rushed to her car to find him, but before she could drive off, she was startled by a knock on the window and fell to the ground. It was Adam, who quickly helped her inside and took care of her scratch. Adam explained that he had to turn down the other girls because he couldn't stop thinking about Eve. He confessed his feelings, and they shared their first kiss. When the two officially get together, Adam decides to tell Eve the truth about his family and his underground home, and says that he wants to marry Eve so she can live with him down there. However, Eve thought Adam was just a delusional man who knew how to hide it. She immediately kicked him out of the house. The next day, Troy took Adam around the city and taught him how to drive. Suddenly, Adam spotted the adult video store he had seen before and followed the path leading to it. Eventually, he discovered the building was located on top of his family's shelter, where Melker had built a whole religion around the elevator. Excited, Adam immediately went back to find Eve to share the news. When he arrived, Adam was surprised to find 2 psychologists waiting for him. At first, Adam pretended to cooperate, but when he saw an opportunity, he ran away, causing one of the doctors to chase after him. The other one attempted to call the police, but Adam stopped her and explained that what she was doing was wrong. Adam ran over and handed Eve the hotel room key, asking her to pay the bill with the baseball card. He then escaped in the truck he had rented, accidentally hitting the doctor's car in the process. Finally, Adam returned to the shelter and embraced his parents after 2 weeks apart. He shared how amazing the outside world was and brought back supplies, with the help of Melker and his friends. A while later, Eve and Troy arrived at Adam's hotel room and discovered many items from the 1960s. They also found Calvin's stock certificates, which were now worth millions of dollars. These discoveries made Eve and Troy realize that Adam had been telling the truth. She and Troy went to the adult video store and began stamping their feet on the floor, hoping to find the shelter. However, they found nothing and decided to leave. But as they were heading out, they saw Adam about to enter the building next door. Eve immediately ran up and hugged him. Adam invited her to meet his parents. Calvin and Helen were very fond of Eve and thoroughly enjoyed talking with her. However, before making any plans for their new life, Adam asked his parents to wait for 2 more months. Calvin also had a conversation with Adam about the important things in life. In the following weeks, Adam and Eve sold Calvin's stocks and built a new house in the countryside, identical to Adam's old home. Melker also helped out after he cleaned up and gave up his drinking habit. When everything was ready, Adam took his parents to the new house, saying that this was how they would gradually adjust to the new world. A little while later, when Helen and Eve were preparing dinner, Adam finally revealed the truth to Calvin. There was no nuclear war. In fact, the bomb he feared was a plane that crashed into their house, and the Soviet Union had collapsed. Calvin refused to believe this and began planning to build a new shelter, just in case something bad happened. You have just watched the summary of the movie Blast from the Past. Thank you for watching.